Good afternoon. I don't know if you're like me, but I left disappointed from Stephen's presentation because I didn't learn about Deep Creek today. That was for the budget comments, Stephen. All right, City of Suffolk. We're the largest geographic city in the entire Commonwealth of Virginia, 430 square miles, which means we got a lot of territory to cover. To assist us in courting and seeing new development come in, we've devised two development corridors. We've got north of Suffolk, which is up on 64, and then the central downtown off 58 in the middle of the city. And so what you see here in the different color dots here are office as well as industrial opportunities. One of the things we like to talk about, or we're real proud about, and that helps us as we plan the city, is the growth that's happened. So over the last decade, the city of Suffolk saw 22.8% of the population. It really is, it's moving in a fast way. We like to call it the fast-growing city, home to fast-growing companies. And this really demonstrates and shows that growth. So we're right around at 85,000 people today in the city of Suffolk. And these are the projections, and these are the most recent projections, population trends and what's happening. And so here we are sitting today, thereabouts, and then this is where we're headed. So we project that we'll continue to see growth in the city of Suffolk, and we're preparing for that in our two different development corridors. Stephen touched on this. Of course, everyone's very interested in a diversified industrial base. So these are the target industries that we go after and that really fit well within Hampton Roads, but also fit really well in the city of Suffolk. And so modeling and simulation and technology firms, still have a number of those in the city that are growing and doing well. The medical has been a growing field for us. As our population increases, those needs for services are coming in. And so it just makes sense that we're seeing more investment out of Centera and Bon Secours and Lakeview. Advanced manufacturing, that really is the tradition of the city as well as food processing. So we continue to offer a lot of great locations and businesses that we're seeing expanding and coming back from a manufacturing standpoint, where we're starting to see a lot of those guys rehiring again when maybe they had slowed down. And so we're really excited about the future of some of these companies here. And it varies. So BASF has a large facility. We have a couple maritime industry related companies that you wouldn't anticipate or expect in a place that's a little more inland. But they're doing parts for the maritime industry like Western Branch Metals and VLBA Robotics. Warehousing and distribution. This year, or at least in 2011, we saw a tremendous amount of investment, and I'll touch on that a little bit. But groups like Target has 1.8 million square feet in Suffolk. QVC has over 1 million square feet as well. Cisco does all their distribution for the metro area, as well as Pepsi's got a facility out there. Retail is also huge. With that investments and the population increase that you guys are all aware of, those rooftops are bringing the retailers out there. So that's really been an opportunity for the city to assist and work with folks that are looking to keep their dollars local, as well as increase the tax base. Hospitality is also kind of a newer one for the city of Suffolk. Before about 2005, we had a couple of facilities that you wouldn't want necessarily anyone to stay at off of the highway, but we've added to that with the Hilton Garden Inn in downtown Suffolk, as well as some other properties with Courtyard Marriott and Comfort Suites. And then really something that we're definitely known for is food and beverage processing. Of course, we're home to Planters Peanuts over 100 years, but also folks need to be aware that Lipton's been there for about 55 years. And so all of their product that comes out of North America is done in Suffolk, Virginia. Massimo Zanetti, their coffee facilities in Suffolk, and their headquarters is based out of Portsmouth, as Patrick might touch on. And didn't have a chance to update this, but Sarah Lee does liquid coffee, which is actually just purchased by Smuckers, which is really exciting because they own Folgers, which is the largest coffee producer. And so I like to call Hampton Roads, and now that, or at least Suffolk, and now that Isle of Wight has Green Mountain, kind of the caffeine capital of Hampton Roads. So we're excited about, and we're always kind of courting those guys. And we're seeing a tremendous amount of investment in 2012, at least interest from food and beverage. So I think we're going to have a couple of good announcements as it relates to those users in the future. This is 2010, just to give you a quick snapshot. Again, I talked about the city and how we try to develop it. These are the locations that came in that expanded or new, and you can see northern Suffolk and the central area. And why we're so, and you'll hear it so many times about a diversified economy, is as certain groups are sitting back or might be struggling, other groups are moving. And so in 2010, we saw a tremendous amount of investment, square footage, and job creation in this red sector, which actually was retail. So Dick's Sporting Goods came into Suffolk, TJ Maxx built a new facility, Buffalo Wild Wings, PetSmart, and so where other retailers might be sitting back or waiting and seeing, Suffolk is such a growing population with so many rooftops that they came into the market. So that's what this year reflects. Where in 2011 we didn't see a large amount of retail investment, but we saw it in other categories. So that having an opportunity to bring in multiple users in helps us in that diversified strategy. So this is 2011, the numbers as it looks. Again, looking at where the investments were located in northern Suffolk and downtown. But warehousing and distribution, you can see in the purple section here, really was the big user and investor in the city of Suffolk. And a lot of that, I'll show you some photos here, but tremendous amount of square footage. So impacted, so new square footage or leased was over 1.7 million square feet, over 900 jobs, and an investment of over $103 million in the city of Suffolk just in last calendar year. So we're really excited to see that investment come into the city. A couple of those projects. This is the new Ace Hardware Redistribution Center. If you've driven down 58 heading to 85 or 95, you see this brand new logo up that just went up the other day. This is a direct result of what you keep hearing about. If you've ever been to any presentation given by Old Dominion or anyone else here recently, you hear about the Panama Canal. This is actually dollars being spent locally because of the Panama Canal. Ace Hardware had a facility of about this size in Tacoma, Washington. Because they wanted to better service the East Coast, and because of the Panama Canal expansion and larger ships that can come through there, they invested this facility in Suffolk, and this will actually open May 1st. And so it's not just hearsay or they're talking about this thing will come. This is a direct example of the Panama Canal expansion. The Navy Exchange Command also consolidated. They had about 3 outdated distribution facilities at Norfolk Naval Base, and they were kind of getting squeezed and pushed out. And so they did a large search throughout Hampton Roads, and this center services 152 Navy Exchange retail centers in North America as well as Europe. And this is their new facility that's currently under construction in Suffolk, and this will open in about the July time frame. And so we're seeing this investment come in on the warehousing and distribution specifically this year, but also it just continues to kind of reiterate what we talk about the Port of Virginia, the future that we have in the Port of Virginia, and what really can happen here. Also, what happened in 2011, when we kind of look back and see who had invested, entrepreneurship was definitely up. And so we saw a lot of small businesses come into the city. So it's really inspiring, I feel, to see people in a tough environment kind of live out their dreams. And some of the guys that came in over on the left, this is the new bed and breakfast up in the village of Chuckatuck. Skydive Suffolk expanded. They've been on our airport for 26 years. They train all the SEALs, and they actually jumped with George H.W. Bush on his 80th and 85th birthday. So if you ever want to skydive, they're the real deal, I promise you. A new cupcake place up on near the Oversea Hospital up on Route 10. Coffee shop in downtown. Great little donut shop up in northern Suffolk called O'Doodle Doos. Embroidery place, and then a barber shop that had a salon, and they opened a men's salon section as well. And so it's really cool when I look at 2011 and see these large companies invest, but then also seeing the local guys and the investors going out there and doing their thing as well. I'm always inspired by it. As well as downtown Suffolk. We're continuing to see revitalization happen in here. These guys are my new best friends. They have been for the last couple of years. That's Monument Construction based out of Richmond. This is their 3rd project. This is the Dammy Annie building in downtown Suffolk. And it's sat vacant for about 10 years or so. And so they're currently about 70% through the project. We took this today, actually. And they're turning it into 26 apartments and some retail out front. They've done 3 projects in downtown. They spent about $10 million, and they're always looking for another concept. And we have 3 new restaurants that are going to open up in downtown Suffolk, too. So if you haven't been out there, it's really exciting to see kind of that new life being brought back into some of these buildings, using historic tax credits. But we're also seeing that next wave of residential movement in too, which is really what we need. We kind of hit a plateau from a commercial investment side, but with projects like this, it brings new life into some of these retailers and restaurants in downtown. Something we're also proud about, I mentioned some of these projects as well. Hampton Roads Association of Commercial Real Estate, they recognize Suffolk. We have about 4 projects that won. We actually swept the industrial category. So I mentioned the Nexcom, the ACE, and then Liberty Property Trust is now building a 120,000 square foot facility up on Harborview Boulevard across from Town Bank. And so we were really proud to sweep the entire industrial category. As well as we've got a lot of input and things through the media on Joint Forces Command. This is actually a building that Joint Forces Command vacated. This is going to be backfilled by the Navy Cyber Command, and so that deal was one of the ones that they were able to announce as well. I mentioned Joint Forces Command. We get that question a lot. So essentially what ended up happening is you had about 2,000 people employed here. It's now down to about 1,000. These back buildings were vacated. This is the one I just talked about where Navy Cyber Command's moving into. And so they still occupy this building in the back, which is actually the largest office building in Hampton Roads. It's a little over 300,000 square feet. And so that modeling and simulation, the technology that's happening is still alive and well in Suffolk. It's just actually diversifying. It's still DoD, so it's not completely diversified, but it's taking other avenues. So it's not just modeling and sim. We're seeing that cyber command, which is going to be really important for the security of our country. And actually, the new name is no longer Joint Forces Command. It's Joint Staff Hampton Roads. It now reports to the Pentagon. Some future opportunities to kind of keep an eye out of. This is Interstate 664. This is Harborview Boulevard here. This is the former Tidewater Community College campus, about 450 acres. Our Economic Development Authority owns this 55 acres. We're currently underway with engineering to plan some future office development or commercial development on that site. And so we had ULI come in, the Urban Land Institute, and sat down with the Real Estate Foundation as well as the city. And they came up with some nice photos here. There could be a future mixed-use development, taking advantage of that beautiful waterfront looking over at Newport News, as well as introducing an office concept for this 55 acres as you enter into the beautiful site. And so we think it's, we're just really proud and honored to have the ability to move forward on a development process on waterfront property of 450 acres. And so we think it's exciting to be in Suffolk and be able to work on this in the future is something that's really going to be a tremendous opportunity for us. Finally, I mentioned our tagline, fast-growing city, home to fast-growing companies, and it really is what's going on out here. And we talked about some of the brand names that are out here a lot of people are very surprised by or weren't aware of, and it's what we're talking about. Some of these groups are moving fast, they're making good decisions, and they're really keeping up with the growth of the city. So again, if you have any more information or questions, you can find us at yessuffolk.com, and look forward to hanging out and answering questions at the end of the presentation.